Hello and welcome to the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. I'm your host, Jeff Harvey, registered migration agent with Down Under Visa, the premier Australian migration agent in Manila, Philippines, specialising in visas for Australian Filipino couples. We hope you enjoy this podcast and hope it proves useful to you. Please feel free to share this with your partner and with any of your interested friends. Let's get started. Australian tourist visas, multiple entry. They are not partner visas. Now, the Australian tourist visa, it's a pretty generous visa and it's of great value when you are in the early stages of a relationship and you want to spend time together in Australia with your Filipino sweetheart. This is when you're not ready to commit to something permanent. And neither of you are completely certain that this is definitely the one that you've met, but you like each other, or maybe even love each other, enough that you want to see where it's going. Now, a couple of weeks together in resorts, hotels and family homes in the Philippines, it isn't quite enough. You want to see how you go, waking up next to each other in your suburban house in Newcastle or Rockingham or wherever every day for 3 months, and see at the end of that time if you can't stand the idea of being apart. That's really the point. Now, 3 months is a pretty good stay period, really, isn't it? And a multiple entry tourist visa means you can repeat it a few times. Most couples have a fairly good idea at the end of this, if this is what they want. Quite a few actually, they will email me after 6-8 weeks and ask how we can make this permanent. So basically at that point, what I'm talking about is they look at each other and the thought of, not being together every day, it's really, really painful for them. Now, some take the plunge, they get married. Others, some realise how wrong they were and they were glad they got a tourist visa instead of making a terrible mistake. And for most people, really 3 months is just enough time to really work that one out. So, yeah. Now, the 1 year visa. We get others who they complete one of our free online visa assessments and they ask me for a 1 year tourist visa. Sometimes they ask me for a 2 year tourist visa. I had somebody ask me that recently, and happens from time to time. And look, I've done a number of blog articles in the past about this topic, but people do still ask. Please have a read of the blog articles. You can just search and you'll find plenty of articles which touch on this topic. But people do still ask, so I find myself writing again and doing podcasts to try and explain why this won't happen. Now, the point you need to understand is that tourist visas have their limitations, and like all visas, they have their set purposes for which they were designed. And tourist visas are for visiting and then returning. Now, they are for people doing tourist things, for example, checking out the harbour bridge and petting koalas and getting sunburnt on our glorious coastline. And they are also for people visiting friends, family, and that includes Filipinos visiting handsome Aussie blokes, which of course is all of us, be honest. There's no man in the world more handsome than you Australian man. It includes visiting Aussie men to build and to enhance relationships. Now, that is perfectly acceptable, but the key word is to visit. And that's why tourist visas are also called visitor visas. Okay, the assumption that a tourist visa is the base, generic visa, the one that you get when you're not really sure about what you're ready to do. No, it's not the case. That they do most definitely have their limitations. And the department are sticklers for visa grants matching the purpose for which they were designed. Now, their pet hate is applications which are not genuine. And you'll find all through the migration legislation is that word, genuine. Student visas for people who want to work visas for girls wanting to visit their boyfriends, and visitor visas for those who want to set up a house together and live in de facto relationships. That's what's called not genuine, and that's something that they do not tolerate. There are partner visas designed for those who wish to live together as partners, and if you are actually committed to living together as a couple, then that was what you were supposed to have been looking at. Now, just remember what I said about how 3 months should really be enough for a couple to figure out if this person really is the one. Well, yeah, I believe that to be true. You're still not 100% sure she's the one after 3 months. Well, you can always apply for an onshore tourist visa. Now, note, look, it's not an extension. People use that all the time. They say, can I get an extension of the visa? And assume that's just a simple process of saying, hey mate, can I extend this a bit longer? So can she stay a bit longer? Sure, no worries, stamp. There goes the extension. It's not an extension, never has been. Extensions don't exist. What you're talking about is an additional tourist visa application which is applied for onshore, which means she doesn't leave. So yeah, you can always do that. Get another 3 months. Now that really should be enough. Now look, does it take a year to work this out? Well, honestly, what uncommitted couple goes out and commits to a 1 year stay together? I like you a lot, but I don't actually know that much about you. Let's live together for a year. Seriously, I think it's pretty obvious to all what you're trying to do when you want to apply for a 1 year visa. You obviously you are committed. Just imagine you'd set aside a year to be with somebody, and after a few months you realise she's not the one. My goodness, you'd want to kill each other before a year was over. My goodness. But yeah, that is the point, is that they know what you're trying to do. If you start asking for 1 year, they know what you're trying to do is you're trying to dodge or put off getting a partner visa. And look, the fees are high, and there's a lot of work involved. I mean, I can't blame somebody for wanting to do it, but at the same time, I can't really blame them for being tough on it, because again, that's not what it's for. Okay. So is a multiple entry visa, a multiple entry tourist visa, is that a 1 year visa? A lot of the time people think it is, and they say to me, oh yeah, she's got a 1 year visa. Then you clarify and realise that, they think it's a 1 year visa because it's valid for 12 months. But is it? No, not at all. In years gone by, a multiple entry was often mistakenly treated as one, and many got away with it. And in fact, we looked at it like that too, because it really wasn't an issue once upon a time. Now, a visa, because, just to make it clear, you can a multiple entry means you stay for 3 months, then you can leave, and then you can come back again. That's what it means, multiple entry. Still a 3 month visa. But, years ago, people could, or even not even that long ago, they could spend the weekend in Singapore, go up to Bali for the weekend, something like that, take a cheap flight, and come straight back again. And somebody recently hopped on a plane and went to New Zealand and came back the next day, no baggage, no nothing. He just did an overnighter and was very, very lucky to get through. Well, look, times have changed, and with most things, they have got tougher rather than getting softer. And if you think that you can use a multiple entry tourist visa to live together as a de facto couple, they will come down on you like the proverbial ton of bricks. Now, they may let you in with a warning, and if you do it again, your visa will be cancelled, or they may even stick her on a plane back to Manila with a cancelled visa to her name, and that's not a good thing to have. Now, I did an article just a couple of months ago, and I did a podcast just a few weeks ago on the topic of multiple entry visas. So please have a look at that. Please have a listen to the podcast, read the article, just so you understand. But you'll see times have most definitely changed. So please read, please listen, please understand. If you get a multiple entry visa from Manila, you can plan on visiting 2 or maybe 3 times over the life of that visa grant. So look, don't push it, or it will come back and bite you. Return within 3 months, then don't return again for a month or even more. No hasty returns, no quick weekends away. And again, look, if you can't stand being apart for a month, then you are probably on the wrong visa. Now, I know they're expensive, partner visas, that is. They're also a lot of work, but nothing good comes easily. And life is not meant to be easy, as they used to say. Now, you've been together in Australia for a year. Then what? Now, this is assuming you managed to dodge the Border Force Welcoming Committee, and you managed to spend 12 months or near enough in Australia on a multiple entry tourist visa, and you're wondering what happens next. Now, we have many couples who just finished their 12-month stint in Australia. They want to do it again, and they ask me for a second 12-month visa or second 1-year visa, and I'm not very encouraging because I know exactly how the department will look at it. Now, visitor visas in the migration regulations have condition 85 a condition 8558, which may be imposed. It's a discretionary condition. For instance, they don't always apply it, however, they can and they will. So it's not mandatory, but the imposing is enough these days that they may as well be. Now, condition 8558 is a visa condition that does not allow a visa holder to stay more than 12 months in an 18-month period. So you count back 18 months from now, and if you have been in Australia for 12 months during that time, well, they're not going to grant another visa. If you spent 10 months and you go and apply for 3 months, well, they're not going to give you 3 months because that'll put you over the 12 months. So yeah, just count back 18 months and see. Now, in reality, don't expect to enter Australia again until 18 months after the first visit, where you can start afresh. And again, don't expect to spend another year together. Don't be too surprised when they, and this is after 18 months, don't be too surprised if you go and ask for a multiple entry visa, they grant you a 3-month single entry stay. Now, I'm not sure what happens anymore, but in years gone by it was fairly normal for a nice immigration officer to tell a tourist visa applicant quite directly that they've had enough and they need to start looking at a partner visa if they want to spend any more time together. You cannot spend year after year on tourist visas because that's not what they're meant for. So please, look, have a bit of a think. Talk together, question your motivation. I mean, if you can't stand being apart, well then, you are committed to each other. It's quite obvious. I mean, if you don't mind, if you say, well, hey, we have fun together, but goodness me, I like my freedom and I've got other things to do, and I like motorbiking on the weekend, or, I want to go and spend more time with my mates or whatever. Oh no, you're not committed, but, if you're both really upset at the idea of being apart, and this is why you've been trying to only take weekends apart, well then, there is a very, very, very good chance that you are committed, even if you're not admitting that to yourselves, even if you've got that cold feet fear of, but this is the big step, this is the big plunge. Think about it, because basically you can't have it both ways. as I said, you can't just, spend year after year, on tourist visas. You can't keep doing that. At some stage, if you want to be together, you're going to have to bite the bullet, and you're going to have to, jump in off the deep end and you take the plunge, as they call it, and tie the knot. Get married, or if you prefer a de facto relationship, and if you do have that commitment, just remember a de facto relationship is not an uncommitted relationship. It's not friends with benefits, as that awful term is. It's you still need to show the same level of commitment to each other. So it's meant to be a permanent relationship where you see the two of you growing old together. So again, think about it, talk about it, if you are committed, well then you're going to have to get on with this, and you may as well get on with it sooner rather than later, because it's not a bad old trot, really. If you think a tourist visa has a fair old bit of flexibility, well, there's nothing quite like a partner visa. They are multiple entries. You can come and go as often as she wants. If you chuff off to the weekend to Bali, they're not going to pounce on her and say, what are your intentions? If she comes back and, with a partner visa and a wedding ring on her finger and, off to see hubby, well, there's no question about it. And, there's all the benefits of being able to work and get Medicare and everything else, and with you normally a final goal of getting Australian citizenship. So, it's not a bad option. So yeah, if you're committed, get a partner visa. Some of the nicest people I know got one. I even got one for my lovely wife years ago, and I still wake up next to her. Thanks. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of the Down Under Visa Philippines to Australia podcast series. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope you found this useful. Australian visas from the Philippines are not easy, and the outcome matters, as you well know. Please feel free to contact us anytime if you need some further help. And we look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye-bye.